Welcome to the Daily Devo. My name is Diana. Today we are talking about being recognized by the fire. There is a smell that can take you back to particular memories. Have you noticed that? Maybe it's the smell of freshly falling rain and it brings back certain memories. Or how about the scent of a flower or a perfume? Can you picture someone as you think about it? For me, the smell of a campfire or a bonfire can bring me back to memories of great conversations with really great people and probably some tasty treats that were happening. Have you ever sat around a campfire before? Well, Peter in the Bible, he had two very important moments that happened around the heat of a fire. The first important moment happened during the time that Jesus was brought to trial near the end of his life. So Peter is following Jesus into the city at a distance. He wants to be close, but he doesn't want to be noticed. And someone is going to ask Peter if he is with Jesus. And get this, he denies the association. Let's listen to it in Luke chapter 22, starting in verse 54. Here's what it says. It says, "Then, seizing Jesus, they led Jesus away and took him into the house of the high priest. Peter followed at a distance, but when they had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat down with them. A servant girl saw him seated there in the firelight. She took a close look at him and said, 'This man was with him.' But Peter denied it. And he said, 'Woman, I don't know him,' he said." Man, in the glow of the firelight, Peter denied Christ. And he goes on to deny association, to deny knowing Christ 2 more times. And on the 3rd time, scripture tells us that Jesus looks at Peter from across the way, and Peter remembers that Jesus said he would deny Christ. And Peter starts to weep bitterly, is what scripture says. So Peter's first moment at a fire, they were filled with failure. What a difficult memory for Peter. What a difficult moment to remember every time the smell of fire came and he found himself around fire. Yet listen to this, the story doesn't end there. A while later, Peter ends up going back to his hometown and leaving that city, and he's fishing. So Jesus, at this point in the time, he's been crucified, and after 3 days, he rose again and he conquered sin and death and shame for you and for me and for our neighbors. So Peter is back home doing what he did before he met Jesus 3 years ago. And while he's out on the boat fishing in the morning, he noticed something on the shore. And somebody on the shore calls out to them. Guys, it was Jesus. And Peter, he jumps out of the boat and he swims towards Jesus. And listen to what Peter found on the shore in John 21, starting in verse 9. It says, "When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread." It was a second fire, and it was a fire with Jesus. And what Jesus does is he invites Peter and the others to come have breakfast with him. Isn't that amazing? A fireside breakfast with Jesus by the shore. Well, Peter and Jesus, as they're eating, they eventually have this conversation. And Jesus asks Peter 3 times, "Hey, Peter, do you love me?" And each time Peter says, "Yes, Lord, I love you." Here's the big idea from today's Devo. Near the smoke of a fire, the light of the flames, Peter denied Christ 3 times. Yet near the smoke of a new fire and the light of a new flame, Jesus pursued Peter and restored him. So what fire in your life might Jesus desire to meet you at today, to spend time with you, and to extend forgiveness and restoration? Is there one of those first fire moments like Peter in your past that you're carrying around with you in your heart and in your mind? Maybe it's the wrong you've done, a sin committed, or a really clear and obvious shortcoming. What if today's story of Peter by 2 different fires reminds us that Jesus still wants to have breakfast with you? He knows what you did. He knows how you still wrestle with its impact. And he knows the cost and consequence. Yet even so, he desires to draw near, to spend time with you, and ultimately to offer you forgiveness and restoration. The choice is yours. Will you accept his love and forgiveness and friendship and restoration today? He's so willing to give it. Here's the deal. The welcoming breakfast fire is waiting for you and for me and for my neighbor today. And here's one last thought. A few of you listening, as you've been hearing this, there's a person that's been coming to your mind who you've been working with God to forgive. And today might be the time for you to follow in the footsteps of Jesus and actually extend the breakfast of forgiveness and restoration to that other person, to seek out time together, to start building upon the relationship with God's help. So whether you're drawing near to Jesus or whether you are extending forgiveness to someone else like he did, let's ponder the story of two fires that Peter found himself at. We'll see you next time.